What are the first principles that you believe we're applying as we kind of move into this space and talk about organizational redesign?
Yeah. So I've been thinking a lot about that. I think there are some economic first principles. Everything we do costs money.
Yeah.
And if we can't connect it to the benefit we're going to give, like I have to determine what teams I'm going to form based on which ones give me the best economic return. I have to determine which dependencies we're going to break based on which ones release the most value for the most important customers. We have to understand how we're going to measure and reward people for success. We have to do it in a way that it motivates the most important behavior. So I think this anchoring in economic concerns is a critical first principle. I also, Mike, I mean, you and I go way back on, and all of us on the theory of constraints. There's always a next constraint, but the constraint might be different based on where you're trying to go. So really deeply understanding the actual constraint and what it constrains you from doing, I think that's a first principle thing, being able to see the obstacle and then come up with the right way to fix it so you get the economic return. I think that sort of theory of constraints, economic prioritization, always moving towards being able to execute more effectively on your current or emerging strategies or first principles.
Brian, anything you want to add to that?
We want to reduce the dependency across the organization, of course, and enable people to move. But sometimes the way that we reduce those dependencies is to come together with a better understanding of the enterprise architecture. And that's both for that capability map, but also for the organization and its capabilities behind those business capabilities. And being intentional and creating a cohesive enterprise architecture, I think, is one of the foundational principles in what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it's really important.
Anything, Dad?
There's a difference between discovery and invention. And so what we're doing, yes, there is some invention to it in terms of how we go lead change and things like that. What we're learning, though, is a lot of discovery, I think. I think there are laws of physics at play. Certain things have to be true for other things to be true. And so and it goes back to my experience even prior to leading Agile, as I was feeling and coming through some of this work. I hadn't codified it. I hadn't thought through it in anywhere close to the level that you and Dennis had, but I had learned to come through transformation in a certain sequence, and it's because I had to. It was the way I had to do it. So I think what we're doing is we're discovering some things, and then we're inventing some things to to basically exploit that discovery. But it does come down to, actually, at the end of the day, we believe that this work that we do and the work that a lot of organizations do is best done with teams. And so that teams, backlogs, working tested product thing to me is foundational. And then building on that, though, I think sometimes as Agilists, we're maybe a little too principled. And, so you and I are both principle-styled people, and sometimes we'll cut off our nose to spite our face, right? But there's real pragmatic realities out there. And so, like, the reality of safety for people, the reality of, for the longest time, I've had people rail on the whole notion of having to do capitalization the way they do it, or, like accounting stuff. All you have to do is go change global tax law. I mean, that's pragmatically, like, just go change global tax law.
Yeah.
Right? And so there are things that people have to deal with that don't fit the principled space. Principally, it doesn't make sense. Pragmatically, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen someday, but we just can't necessarily attach it to what we're going to do right now in the situation we're in. We're going to have to make some pragmatic judgment on how best to take care of a concern that we know maybe, isn't something primary, to the performance of the organization, but is important to somebody somewhere.